The crisp October air hummed with the faint buzz of my electric fence, a low-voltage barrier protecting my Crescent Meadows farmland from stray deer. My 50-acre property, leased to the state for sustainable agriculture, was a haven of rolling crops and conservation, far from the manicured lawns of the nearby, gated community. I was inspecting my cornfields when a police cruiser rolled up, lights flashing, followed by a familiar figure, Karen Miller, the HOA tyrant, clutching her clipboard and pointing at my fence like it was a war crime. Karen, who'd banned my farm stand, towed my tractor, and slapped my waitress, had no business on my land. She called the cops, claiming my fence was a danger to the community and violating HOA codes. What she didn't know was that my property wasn't in her HOA's jurisdiction. It was unincorporated county land, exempt from her rules. As the county's wildlife conservation head and Meadow Mart owner, I had permits, legal backing, and a community tired of her meddling. I stood, hands on hips, as Karen ranted to the officer about electrocution risks and aesthetic violations. The cop looked skeptical, glancing at my state lease property sign. This wasn't just a false complaint. It was Karen's latest attempt to control what wasn't hers, oblivious to the fact that she'd stepped onto my turf. My pulse raced, but a grin formed. She called the law on a fence she couldn't touch, and I was ready to turn her stunt into a viral takedown. What happened next wasn't just me shutting down her complaint. It was a masterstroke of legal savvy, community defiance, and poetic justice that left Karen humiliated, the HOA exposed, and my farmland untouchable. Crescent Meadows rallied, the cops backed me, and Karen's call became her downfall in a way that stunned everyone. My electric fence sparked more than voltage. It ignited a movement. Crescent Meadows was a colorful suburb that had shed its HOA shackles, thanks to my battles against Karen Miller. Once stifled by bans on quirky mailboxes and untidy gardens, it now thrived with murals, wildflowers, and my Meadow Mart, a store and cafe pulsing with community pride. My 50-acre farmland, a separate parcel outside the gated neighborhood, was a stately sanctuary of corn, soybeans, and rare crescent bluefin fish in its bordering lake. Unincorporated and HOA-free, it was my domain, protected by county and state law. I'm Sarah, the farmer, store owner, and county wildlife conservation head who'd outwitted Karen 9 times, buying Meadow Mart after a farm stand ban, turning her avocado tantrum into a win, exposing her coffee-throwing assault, stopping her fishing derby, evicting her fishing club, jailing fake HOA cops, rallying for a pilot's defiance, protecting my waitress Lily, and retrieving my tow tractor. My electric fence, a low-voltage system, was state-approved to deter wildlife, not harm humans, and sat well within my property lines. Karen Miller, mid-50s, was a fading bully, her clipboard and blazers a weak front for her need to dominate. Exiled from the HOA, jailed for assault, and mocked online, she'd resurfaced with a new obsession, my fence, which she claimed threatened her neighborhood, despite being half a mile away. Her 911 call was a desperate bid to reassert control, backed by a few HOA diehards who didn't know my land status. Key allies included my mother, Ellen, a fierce advocate who rallied neighbors, Tom, my biologist friend who monitored my ecosystems, Linda, the councilwoman who'd back my fights, and Lily, my waitress-turned-community leader. My farmhands, local teens like Mia, witnessed Karen's intrusion and were ready to testify. The Crescent Meadows Forum, our digital pulse, would amplify the fight, as always. The setting was my farmland, a golden expanse under an October sky, with cornfields, barns, and my lake shimmering nearby. The electric fence, a discreet wire along the perimeter, was marked with caution, low-voltage signs, and state permits. Karen had trespassed through a service gate, ignoring private property signs to call the cops for my land. Her complaint was baseless, my fence was legal, and her HOA had no reach here. This was her boldest overstep yet. This wasn't just about a fence. It was Karen's final assault on my freedom and Crescent Meadow spirit. For me, it was a chance to protect my land, expose her ignorance, and unite our community against meddling. As I faced her and the cop, I knew this fight would redefine our town's strength. Karen's 911 call was a farce. The officer, Deputy Harris, a friend from my conservation work, stepped out of his cruiser, eyeing Karen's clipboard skeptically. "This fence is a hazard," she shrieked, pointing at the humming wires. "It's shocking people and ruining our views." I laughed, showing Harris my permits. "This is state-leased land, not HOA property," I said. "The fence is legal, and Karen's trespassing." Her face twitched. She hadn't known my land was outside her control. I filmed the scene, Karen's rant, the private property sign, my permit folder, and called Tom, who confirmed the fence's compliance. "It's low voltage, state approved," he said, promising rangers as backup. Ellen dug up my lease and fence permits, texting, "Karen's out of her league." I alerted Linda, who was furious. "She's harassing you on county land," she said, vowing to bring state officials. Harris asked Karen for evidence. "Where's the HOA's jurisdiction?" he said. She waved a fake citation, claiming community safety. I showed my lease, stating, "This land's unincorporated. The HOA has no power here." Neighbors arrived, alerted by my forum post. Karen called cops on my legal fence. My farm's not in her HOA. Hashtag Karen versus fence and hashtag Save Sarah's Farm trended locally, with comments like, "She's delusional," and "Protect Sarah's land." Jake, my barista, live streamed from Meadow Mart, showing my permits. "Crescent Meadows won't let Karen bully," he said, hitting 60,000 views. Karen rallied her HOA cronies, a dwindling trio waving signs, "No dangerous fences." But the crowd turned. Neighbors shouted, "You're on Sarah's land." A farmhand, Mia, filmed Karen's trespass, catching her stepping over my gate. I shared the video online. Karen's breaking the law on state property. The forum surged, with posts recalling her past failures, towing my tractor, slapping Lily. Hashtag Karen versus fence went national, with a tweet, "HOA Karen calls cops on farmer's fence, doesn't know it's state land." Hashtag epic fail. Lily handed out flyers about my lease, explaining Sarah's farm feeds thousands. Karen's just causing trouble. Tom arrived with 2 rangers holding fence certifications. "This is a conservation tool," he said. Karen's complaint is baseless. She doubled down, telling Harris she's endangering kids. But Mia showed her video, proving no one was near the fence. Harris shook his head. "You're on private land, ma'am. This call's false." The livestream hit 200,000 views, with news vans arriving. A reporter interviewed me. "Karen's targeting my legal fence, but this land's state protected." Linda arrived with a state agriculture official, who confirmed Sarah's lease exempts her from HOA rules. Karen's liable for harassment. The crowd chanted, "Sarah, Sarah," as Karen's cronies slunk away. I kept streaming. Karen's trying to control what's not hers. "We're shutting this down." Comments flooded. "Sarah's unstoppable." Karen's toast. Karen tried one last lie, claiming the HOA had county approval. Harris called her bluff, checking my permits. "This is state land," he said. "You're facing trespass charges." The stage was set, not just to dismiss her complaint, but to crush her meddling and rally Crescent Meadows around my farmland. Her call was her undoing, and what happened next would stun everyone. My farmland was a battleground of principle. Karen stood cornered, her cronies gone, as rangers flanked Deputy Harris. The livestream hit 600,000 views, with hashtag Karen versus fence and hashtag Save Sarah's Farm trending globally. Neighbors packed the fields, waving signs. "Karen's no farmer. Hands off our land." News crews broadcast live, anchors calling it a farmer's stand against HOA overreach. The air crackled, and I was ready to deliver the knockout. Tom addressed the crowd, voice clear. "Sarah's fence is state-approved, protecting crops and wildlife on this 50-acre leased land. Karen's complaint violates county and state law." He showed fence certifications, proving its 12-volt safety. Neighbors gasped, sharing the documents online. Ellen handed out lease flyers, saying Sarah's farm is HOA-free. Karen's trespassing. The forum surged. "Karen's clueless." Sarah's our hero. A viral tweet read, HOA Karen calls cops on state farmer's fence. Doesn't know she's outside her turf. Hashtag Karen versus fence. Karen tried to rally, shouting, this fence is a danger. The HOA protects safety. But Ranger Daniels held up my lease, stating, this is unincorporated land. You've no authority, and you're trespassing. Karen's eyes widened. She hadn't grasped the land status. National agriculture groups joined the X-fray, posting, Karen's harassing a stateless sea. Support Sarah. The Change.org petition, Protect Sarah's Farm, hit 50,000 signatures with comments like Karen's a menace and Sarah's a legend. Linda spoke to reporters, voice firm. Sarah's farm feeds our state, and her fence is legal. Karen's false call wastes resources and threatens our crops. She announced a council motion to fine the HOA $5,000 and ban false complaints against non-HOA land. The crowd roared, chanting no HOA here. The HOA, gutted by past scandals, leaked emails disavowing Karen. She's rogue. Neighbors blocked her car, demanding accountability. I grabbed the megaphone, heart racing. Karen thought she could police my fence, but this land's state-protected, and Crescent Meadows won't bow. I proposed a Farm Freedom Day to celebrate the lease, with crop tours, music, and fence demos, inviting all. The crowd cheered, volunteering to guard the fields. I shared online. Karen's call failed. Join us to protect our farm. The live stream hit 2 million views, with hashtag Farm Freedom trending. Comments flooded. Sarah's unstoppable. Karen's done. Karen made a last stand, telling Harris the HOA's filing charges. But Daniel shut her down, showing her trespass video. You're facing fines and possible jail, he said, preparing to cuff her. The crowd parted, phones filming her humiliation. Jake's stream hit 3 million views, with comments like Bye Karen. Farm wins. News ran headlines. Farmer state lease foils HOA Karen's false cop call. Lily organized kids to paint farm-free signs, while Tom tied it to my lake, saying Sarah protects all our resources. The Rangers cleared Karen's signs, and neighbors patrolled the fence, turning chaos into unity. Linda promised state funding for a Crescent Farm Sanctuary sign, marking the lease's power. The stage was set for a victory that would save my land, end Karen's reign, and show Crescent Meadows' strength. Karen was cuffed, but what happened next would shock everyone. The farmland pulsed with triumph as Karen was cuffed, her clipboard left in the dust. The live stream hit 5 million views with hashtag Karen versus fence and hashtag Save Sarah's Farm trending worldwide. Neighbors filled the fields, guarding my fence as news crews filmed. I held the megaphone, my role as conservation head and state lessee now a shield, ready to seal Karen's defeat. Deputy Harris addressed the crowd, voice steady. Karen Miller's charged with trespass, filing a false report, and interfering with state property. She faces up to a year in jail. The crowd roared, waving farm-free signs. Harris added, Sarah's lease and permits are bulletproof. This fence is untouchable. Neighbors cheered, phones filming for the forum, where comments surged. Karen's done. Sarah's our queen. Linda took the stage, commanding. Sarah's not just a farmer. She's our conservation chief, protecting this state-leased land. Karen's false call was an attack on our freedom. She announced the council's vote, a $5,000 HOA fine, a ban on non-HOA complaints, and funding for Farm Freedom Day. The crowd chanted freedom, freedom, as kids handed me painted corn cobs, symbols of our win. Tom showed ecosystem data, proving the fence's role in saving crops from deer. Sarah's protecting our food and wildlife, he said, sparking applause. I unveiled a Crescent Farm Sanctuary sign sketch, state-backed, to mark the land's status. This farm's ours, not Karen's, I said, sharing it online, a tractor under a state seal. The forum erupted. Perfect. Sarah's legacy. Harris confirmed the evidence. Lease, permits, trespass video was airtight. Karen pleaded guilty to avoid trial, facing jail and a permanent town ban. My digital dossier, lease, videos, ranger reports, was handed to the press, ensuring her conviction. News ran it live. Farmers State lease crushes, HOA, Karen's cop call. The crowd surged, music blaring, as Farm Freedom Day plans took shape. I gave a mic to Lily, who shone. "This farm's our heart," she said. "Thank you, Sarah." Neighbors hugged her, patrolling the fence in solidarity. The sign contest launched, with entries flooding the forum. This wasn't just Karen's defeat. It was Crescent Meadows' triumph, proof our land could outshine meddling. As the sun set, my fence hummed, and the farm stood strong. Karen's conviction was Crescent Meadows' victory. News ran headlines like State Farmer foils HOA's false cop call, and Sarah's fence defeats Karen. The live stream hit 30 million views, with hashtag Karen vs. Fence trending for weeks. Fan art of my fence as a superhero shield flooded the forum, and agriculture groups invited me to speak. Talk shows called, but I stayed grounded, saying this is about our farm. Farm Freedom Day was a sensation. Hundreds joined, neighbors, kids, state officials, touring crops, testing the fence's safe voltage, and unveiling the Crescent Farm Sanctuary sign. Meadowmark catered, and Tom led eco talks, teaching kids about conservation. The event raised $25,000 for farm tech, and state leaders hailed it as a model. The forum buzzed with photos. Sarah's land shines. No more Karens. The HOA crumbled. Linda's vote fined it $5,000 and banned non-HOA complaints, with new rules requiring county oversight. Karen served 6 months, banned from Crescent Meadows, and moved to a city apartment, reportedly arguing over noise. "Don't fence like Karen" became a local joke, painted on barn doors. My fence became a tourist draw, with visitors posing by the sign. Meadow Mart and my farm stand soared, the cafe hosting farm nights with corn dishes and music. Tourists flocked to Sarah's sanctuary, boosting sales. Neighbors brought gifts, woven mats, fence models, saying I'd inspired them to stand firm. Tom's data showed record crop yields, celebrated at a community feast. The digital dossier lease videos reports was studied for land rights laws, influencing policy. Ellen led farm tours, calling the lease Sarah's fortress. Lily mentored kids, painting eco signs for the fields. The forum planned a Farm Freedom Fest with music, tours, and eco talks, cementing our spirit. Sarah turned Karen's call into our triumph. One post read, "I hired local teens to monitor the fence, giving them pride." At the fest, under a Fields Forever banner, Linda toasted, "To Sarah, Ellen, and Crescent Meadows, where land and liberty win." Fireworks burst, kids ran, and my fence hummed softly. Karen's call had been a spark, but we'd built a legacy. Meadow Mart, my stand, and the farm were our stronghold, proof no bully could fence our freedom. As stars shone, I knew Crescent Meadows would always stand tall, bold, and free.